Hello, my name is Dee Woods from the Landworkers Alliance in the UK, and we are the UK member of La Via Campesina. I represent La Via Campesina as the Western Europe focal point, and I'm part of the Women and Gender Diversity Working Group. For the CSIPM working group, it is very important that we have been able to meet in person and be together to collectively discuss these voluntary guidelines on gender equality and women's empowerment in the context of food security and nutrition. One of the main expectations of the civil society and indigenous peoples mechanism, CSIPM, participating organizations is to see an ambitious and transformative policy document that can truly impact people's lives in their communities and territories. In order to achieve this goal, we advocate for a strong human rights approach within the text, and it is also crucial to recognize the interconnected, linked, but distinct human experiences. Women in all our diversities historically have been discriminated against and face intersecting forms of oppression and marginalization that cannot remain invisible anymore. Women are pathologized, criminalized, murdered, or forced to leave communities for different reasons, including rural women because their land is under occupation, or because of their gender and or sexual orientation. We as women continue to be made invisible. We exist, we must be named, and our rights must be respected. These guidelines must be a tool to support the empowerment of women and girls in all their diversities. We are worried because universal access to sexual and reproductive health rights was included in the original draft of these guidelines, but now it does not appear anywhere in the text. Sexual and reproductive health rights have been replaced by a narrow focus on nutrition that does not take into account the intersecting forms of discrimination that women and other non-cis heteronormative genders suffer, and impacts our right to adequate, nutritious, and food of cultural significance to our culturally diverse identities. We are deeply concerned for the lives of women and their rights over their own bodies, particularly in this moment with the USA Supreme Court ending the constitutional right to abortion. We stand in solidarity with all the women whose bodies and lives will be put in danger. Women have fought for these rights for decades, and these guidelines cannot take us backwards. Women's empowerment implies strengthening women's rights rather than endangering our lives. Denying sexual and reproductive health rights will not prevent abortion, but force women and girls to risk their health and lives seeking illegal abortions. These are often poor women, Black and women of color, migrant women, refugee and displaced women, women who have experienced sexual violence. Denying women their rights also undermines our food security as women. Faced with no other choice, women will use their money for an illegal abortion, which is extremely costly, rather than use that money for their own food security or that of their household. Universal social protection must include universal access to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, including safe abortion. The lack of these rights exposes women and girls to risk their long-term health and lives. Once again, These guidelines must be a tool to support the empowerment of women and girls in all our diversities.